Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
Okay, so again, this is a dystopian point of view of Hong Kong, and showing people how beautiful this city is, even though you're looking at something that's potentially controversial,
Right.
overlooked.
What's interesting to me is that you are playing a lot with light and darkness, right? So this is shot at night. There's a man, you don't see his face. He's kind of, his shoulders and his arm are kind of turned red by a red light overhead. He's exiting a kind of a 60-year-old building. There's the kind of sign that could be, I don't know if this is like like a brothel, could be in Mongkok. Not really sure. It looks kind of dodgy. Oh, it's definitely a brothel. Okay, so it looks kind of dodgy, but the light is very soft. So there's the reds, there's the green of the interior fluorescent lighting. Yeah, so this you're photographing, and it's only one person, right? So it's this lone person in a part of town that is probably filled with lots of people. So yeah, so why is this image so important to your body of work?
Again, it's something I'm trying to show people how beautifully dystopian this city is. You know, this is a potentially controversial image found in the back alleyways of Mongkok.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, originally I shot this doorway without the person in it, which has been proven successful. So I kept going back, looking to tell more of a story. Initially, I was enraptured, if that's the right word, by the tones of light going down the corridor.
Yeah,
Basically, you got your red light at the doorway, throwing a big red glow around the opening, and then further down the corridor, you've got a cooler light throwing a greenish blue light. So the combination of the two gives you a whole kaleidoscope of colors traversing that corridor. So that was initially why I picked up on it, and of course, the salaciousness of it being a brothel is something I like to explore. You know, prostitution in Hong Kong is legal
Yeah.
as long as you're a single person in a single room. Of course, the problem there is it's all run by the underworld, so these people are taken advantage of. So there's that whole backstory as well going on behind this image.
Yeah, there's definitely something. You're definitely capturing a side of the glitzy, well-known side of Hong Kong, which is, the banking and finance and the central business district and all this stuff. Now, this image isn't really salacious. Like, it's basically a guy walking through a hallway at night. You don't see his face. He seems. Now, he doesn't seem especially hurried, but he's kind of he's on his way out, and he's exiting the building.
Yeah. You could say that he's a customer leaving said establishment. Well, that's the kind of story that comes up in my mind. Hence,
Right.
why I hid any kind of identifying features on the individual.
Sure. So for somebody listening to this from not in Hong Kong, who has no frame of reference, right? So why don't you situate where this is? Like, where is this, and how does it sit within the idea or the reputation of Hong Kong, the big crazy city?
Every city has its underworld. Of course, there's the glam and glitz of the facades of Central and Tsim Sha Tsui. But, these cities, again, are run by the individuals that make up that fabric of the city. It's all those facades and glitz and glamour that you see on face value are, a tiny percentage of what makes this city tick.
Yeah.
So, if you want to take the other end of the spectrum, which is potentially the underworld, if you will, there's plenty of things to be exploring in that storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And it again, the fabric of the city is not all that glitzy glamour that you see on the waterfront.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of people are hardworking individuals that make something out of nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a beautiful example of that, albeit somewhat dystopian.
Right. So I've got to ask a question.
Yeah,
Like, in a sense, like, how are you using the photographs? Like, are you using them for, editorial purposes to kind of capture and write a story, or are you mostly looking at it through like an aesthetic sort of thing of either to shock a viewer, like in a gallery, or yeah, like set up. Why don't you set up how you're using these photographs so a listener can either
yeah,
find out about them or see like what how do your photographs live beyond your computer?
right. So I'm fashioning myself into an artist. I believe I'm getting there. But an image like this, I want it to grab attention on its face value, but then I want viewers to take a deeper dive into the imagery. If they take the time to understand what's going on in that image, they'll find many, many different storylines going throughout.
Mm,
Um, Again, you go back to Bicycle Man. It's that hardworking guy in the middle of a typhoon, still busting his ass because he
mm-hmm.
has to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise he's not going to be able to eat properly. It's the
Right.
same sort of story with a very cheap brothel in a back alleyway in Mongkok. Mongkok
Right.
being, one of the most heavily densely populated places on the planet. But again, it's not all the glitz and glamour of the facades. It's what happens in the back alleyways
Mm-hmm.
and to the average person. So, someone sees it in the gallery, they need to understand what they're looking at.
Yeah.
This is a single person brothel, potentially with a customer leaving, but it's still
Mm-hmm.
stunningly beautiful on face value.
I mean, it's almost religious in its sort of in terms of the tones, in terms of the softness, in terms of the light and dark, and
Yeah,
I'd take my dogs when we'd have 24-hour vet needs, right? Like if a dog needed to see a vet, the only vet that was open was in Mongkok. And so, you drive out there
right.
at 1 a.m, you park the car, and then as you walk your sick dog down the street, up the stairs, it's like you're passing like entranceway after entranceway of these brothel areas. And it's
Yeah,
like, okay, it's just part of life out there. Yeah, it's an interesting juxtaposition.
yeah.
Right.
I like showing the brothel against the contemporary, modern,
Right.
gentrified streets, but
Hmm.
still upstairs there's a brothel. The values here are very wide.
Right. Well, they're fulfilling a service. They're
Yeah.
fulfilling a service. So, like, in terms of, let's go back to how you use your photographs. Like, are you showing them in a gallery, or like how are they? Do they live as prints? Do they only live on a screen? Like, how do you put them into the world?
So predominantly, I sell my prints at gallery shows, charity events, and those kind of things. I'm actually gearing up for a gallery show next month, but more
Nice.
about that later.
Okay.
I produce prints on metal plate, which is a product called Chromolux,
I love that.
which is perfect for Hong Kong walls. If you've ever tried to hang a piece of paper artwork up in Hong Kong, you soon find it's gone all wrinkly and mouldy and started to slip inside the frame and all
Hmm.
of these kind of things. Hence why I use an industrial product, this Chromolux product, which makes it look super glossy and it
Hmm.
has the added advantage of being waterproof scratch resistant, flame retardant, even, and UV resistant.
That's great. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, all of those things make for a good product in my mind that's going to stay fresh for the next 50 years. Yeah.
Right. Dickie Suzuki is going to stay fresh for 50 years. All right. I love it. So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.